was our A1.
Yes. Today, 300 newspapers coordinated articles criticizing President Trump just after he'd accused them of coordinating articles criticizing President Trump. And nobody read them. If jerks like me weren't talking about it, would you even know? Yes, another public display of the press exercising their right to irrelevance. Remember when the New York Times ran an editorial saying you should vote for Hillary and the rest of the media followed? Now they say Trump's blocking free speech as they all screamed this in unison. Trump accuses them of groupthink and they respond with groupthink. Now, since the election, the media's been one malfunctioning car alarm, loud, relentless, and broken. This after sleeping through Obama's terms, ignoring Iran, the DOJ, the IRS, immigration, while dreaming of Hillary. And now he's gone, their dreams are shattered, and now they're wide awake because Trump is their Red Bull. What phonies. They gave Trump endless airtime while wringing their hands, thinking it was okay because Hillary had it in the pantsuit. But the palooka you propped up wasn't the empty can you thought he was. While mocking Trump nonstop, people stopped caring about what you thought. That Red Bull gored your butt, and now all you can do is blame him for what you helped do. And they say Trump targets all news, not fake news, which is fake news. They ignore the clarifications that are obvious to us. No surprise. Remember when one of us would criticize Obama or Hillary, we'd be called a bigot? I remember that like it was yesterday, probably because it was. You sought to silence opinion through fear and smear, and now you pretend you're the victim. You're not oppressed, just depressed. Get over it. All right, Jedediah, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
I know you were in Italy. I hear it's a wonderful place.
It is.
That was your honeymoon, was it not?
It was. I ate enough gelato for all of us.
Well, I don't see it anywhere, Jedediah.
It was delicious.
Oh, fantastic.
So gelato, but I made it back.
Is press speaking truth to power, or are they just whining to each other?
They're so nauseating. This is why people can't stand the media. It's like they say, oh, we had to write this to remind people of the important role that journalists play. If you have to write an editorial to remind people of the important role, maybe you're doing something wrong. There might be a problem. I just think it's so funny because he doesn't criticize freedom of the press. He's not attacking freedom of the press. He's attacking journalists who make it their job to every day go out and with bated breath wait for something to criticize about him. And it's not about Donald Trump. They've been doing this they did it to George W. Bush. They did it to Dick Cheney. They did it to Sarah Palin. The problem is now they have a guy that calls them out and they don't know what to do about it. And it's so crazy to me that what you said before, the collectivist mentality, he's out there saying, you guys are all against me. You guys are on a mission to take me out. And they in response are saying, let's all group together and collectively tell him, no, we're important. That's the point. You are making his point. Thank you, journalists, again, for making his point. And once again, I've seen him pay homage to many journalists. He doesn't make a broad sweep. Jesse gets a lot of love.
Journalist Jesse.
Many people have written books, but he's tired of this. He's tired. And people out there are saying, yeah, you know what? He's tired of it. He's speaking out. We wish other people before him would have spoken out. And when he says stuff like the press is, the enemy, and people are at home saying, you know what, we've been waiting for someone to call this out for so long. Thank you for saying that. It's not the press at large, but when you're out there saying, I'm an objective journalist, and you're not, and you're making it your job every day to take down the guy in the White House, somebody should call you out, and I thank him for doing that.
This is ridiculous, but to me, when he calls the American press enemy of the American people,
fake news.
Says,
fake news.
Fake news. Oh, he never said it now. And then how
he said fake news.
He says fake
news. He said fake news.
No, he didn't.
They're tweets. I saw them.
Yes,
with these eyes.
He said it.
These beautiful blue eyes.
The enemy of the American people. He has threatened even to change the libel laws. We've gone away from briefings at the White House. And you know what? I think it's appropriate for the editorial sections of these newspapers, not the news sections. It was the editorials to say, you know what? We're not the American people. We are the American people. The American people, in fact, America is founded on the idea of a free, vigorous press.
Nobody's arguing.
Hang on. The legitimate purpose of the press is to be an adversary to people in power and hold them accountable.
Like they were with Obama.
Exactly, they were with Obama. And especially to a guy who lies and just says, oh, what's the big deal? Yesterday, in talking about John Brennan revoking the security, he says, oh, this was all about protecting national intelligence.
Right.
And then he turns around and tells the Wall Street Journal, which didn't run this editorial, by the way, the Wall Street Journal tells them, oh, yeah, that was about the Russia investigation, because he's one of the guys that started. So somebody's got to be a watchdog and call Trump on his lies, and yet you guys want to sit here and pretend. And let me tell you the danger of this. Over half of Republicans listening to this now say they agree with Trump. And guess what?
Okay.
It invites the threat, this is what one of the papers said, it invites the threat of violence against people doing their job, which is to report the news.
The violence against, what you mean when Antifa went after that reporter. Jesse,
yes.
I am amazed that now we're demanding that all of our politicians tell the truth. That's incredible to me, because there was always
because
this
Obama lied for a whole year about being able to keep your health care, and no one called him out on that.
Oh, no, I never heard about it.
They never had an adversarial position against Barack Obama. They loved Barack Obama. Obama joked about it at the White House Correspondents' Center. Oh, you guys are my base, and everybody laughed and was drinking champagne. Stop pretending like they were tough on Obama. They weren't. They'd have a lot more credibility if every administration that came around, they were this adversarial. But they don't, and they're not. And that's the problem, because Donald Trump has exposed them as dishonest Democrat Party hacks. The media right now are extensions of the Democratic Party. They give him no credit for anything good he does and deny him all credit for anything he does. Everything is framed as something he's done as evil, is wrong, as backwards, and he's not given a fair shake. So when he says, you guys are the enemy of the people, what he's saying is, you guys are denying the truth to the American people. You're feeding them spin. You're feeding them dishonest propaganda to help the Democratic Party, and you're not shooting straight. And why they get that so upset is because their credibility rests upon the fact that they pretend to be independent. And when he says you're not independent and you're lying about that, they can't handle it. They can dish it out, but they can't take it.
The only thing the king wants is somebody who will adore him, who will honor him, say Donald Trump's the greatest ever.
Like when Obama had 90% of the press fawning over him. They asked him a question in the press conference. What's the most enchanting thing about being at the White House? Come on.
Let's think about this for a second together, America. #1 talk show in America, Rush Limbaugh. So easy on Obama. #1 newspaper in America, Wall Street Journal. So easy on Obama. #1 cable network in America, Fox News. So easy on Obama.
For America.
What does that tell you? They're number one.
No, I'm just telling you. You say so easy. Nobody can decide for Obama.
You want a monopoly.
Outrageous, and I'm
can't stand criticism. That's
can I just slow this thing down? Everybody, get to that happy place. Dana, I am convinced that when the 300 papers did this, it reached at least 300 editors. Because I swear no one would know about this if I hadn't.
I'll be slightly contrarian.
Oh, no.
So, I love the media. I love news.
Yeah.
I love journalism. I feel like I'm adult enough and mature enough to be able to identify when somebody at a certain other network stands up and makes a story about himself versus something that is amazing. Like, there's some great journalism being done in long formats, in new formats, like on podcasts. There's some really good stuff that also, a lot of it doesn't have anything to do with President Trump. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and let 1,000 flowers bloom. The First Amendment includes the freedom of the press for a reason. I believe in the Constitution. I think our founding fathers understood that, as we've all been saying, the adversarial relationship is going to be there, but it is the most important thing. I don't mind that they did the editorials. It's fine. And maybe it doesn't have that much of an effect, except for maybe to get us riled up. But also, he has gone after the media pretty viciously, sometimes deservedly. But he likes to call himself a counterpuncher. Well, other people can be counterpunchers too, and if they can counterpunch with an editorial, so be it.
Oh yeah, but except that it was a counterpunch by mob. They did it together, and they all sound the same. It just makes him look better because he's lone. And I still maintain he's talking about fake news, not the whole news. Can we just run what you wanted an example, Juan, of the media and how they feel about Trump and how they're in collusion with the Democratic Party? John Heilman, take it away. Describe Trump.
I would like a pollster to test this question. How many people in the Republican Party think that it would be okay for Donald Trump to dissolve their own grandparents? I'm virtually certain that if it was a Donald Trump-related question, you'd get like 10% that would be like, Donald Trump has the power to do whatever he wants, including kill my parents.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's totally sane, Jedediah.
You know, the thing is, when the vast majority of the media is opposed to one side on a pretty consistent basis, own it. I feel like they should own it. When people who are saying that they're objective journalists are repeatedly taking one side over another, that's a problem. That is the responsibility of any person with a brain and a thinking person to come out and say, this is not a fair and balanced media. That doesn't mean there aren't good journalists. That doesn't mean that journalists aren't supposed to be watchdogs. And that doesn't mean that everyone in the press is terrible. But there is an inherent, consistent, motivated, agenda-driven bias in much of the media. It's incumbent upon people to call that out and acknowledge it. You have to admit that.
No, I don't. And by the way, the example that Greg gave us, the example that Greg gave us of John Heilemann is not there as a journalist. He's there as a commentator, and he's offering his opinion in much the way that we do at this table.
We have never said anything like that. President Obama would kill your parents if he had the chance.
I won't tell you what we've said on this network about Obama. Let's not get crazy.
Juan, did they have any balance on that panel, by the way?
I don't know.
Was there any Republican on that panel that was saying one nice thing about
and John Heilemann is a journalist.
This is not what the editorial was about. The editorial is about protecting the idea that reporters can go out and do their job, report the news, and they're not the enemy of the American people.
That was just one giant tantrum. That's all it was.
They've been calling Trump the enemy of minorities, of the Constitution, of the rule of law, and of the American system for the last year and a half. So Trump then hits back and says, no, you're the enemy of the American people. And they say, oh, someone's going to get hurt.
Please,
Come on.
give me cheese.
All right, I thought that was quite... I quite enjoyed it. All right, coming up, President Trump hammers New York Governor Andrew Cuomo for saying that America was never that great.
Our Governor Andrew Cuomo is doing major damage control after he trashed America with these comments.
We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. We have not reached greatness. We will reach greatness when every American is fully engaged. We will reach greatness when discrimination and stereotyping against women, 51% of our population, is gone.
The governor knew he stepped in at big time and quickly issued a clarification saying that America is great, but that it has not yet reached its maximum potential. President Trump had no choice but to fire back. Quote, "We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great." Can you believe this is the governor of the highest tax state in the U.S., Andrew Cuomo, having a total meltdown? Juan, I got to go to you. Even you have to admit what the governor of this great state said was pretty bad.
No, I don't think it was too bad, but I do think...
Do you agree with what he said?
I think he made a mistake in saying it the way that he said it. But it's not that it's wrong. What is the fact is, and I know we all love to discuss the Constitution, the fact is that if you go back to the Constitution, women couldn't vote. I don't think it's 100 years since women have been able to vote in this country, Jesse.
Right.
Okay, I
2020.
think...
I think it's 2020. That's why they... Well, never mind.
No, but
I don't want to give you a good answer.
Okay. Thank you, Greg.
No, I said that's what the Democrats should run on, 2020.
Okay, and then I think that obviously you had slavery, you know, 3/5 human in the constitutions. Right. We have had amendments to the Constitution. We have a country that's gone through some difficult times, everything from Japanese internment, right?
Right.
And we've made tremendous progress. The thing about America is, and this is why I think he misspoke,
right.
America is great, and America has long been great because it's a great idea.
Right.
That we can come together, people who believe in political stability, economic opportunity. Oh, Mr. Trump, we believe in free markets. And guess what? That's America, and I think we're still a country evolving, working towards perfection.
Well, you said it a lot better than the governor said it, Juan. Cynthia Nixon, who's the liberal challenger, actually said it pretty well when she said he was trying to figure out what a progressive sounds like and missing by a mile. I think she nailed it.
So you said that he had no choice but to backtrack. The only reason he actually backtracked is because there was like an opposition research firm who was watching all these boring videos of all these possible candidates, and they pick it out. That becomes a national news story, and then he backtracks. So it's not like he backtracked right away.
He got caught.
Right. And I think the thing is if you are nakedly auditioning to be a 2020 Democrat hopeful, you are going to be treated like a candidate. And so these stories, remember Romney's 47%? Right? These things are going to happen. I cannot forget. It reminds me of John Kerry, similar thing. In 2004, an opposition research firm, or actually an opposition research guy on the campaign, watching these boring videos and sees John Kerry say, you know, the Iraq War, I voted for it before I voted against it. And
I thought you were going to say when they caught him windsurfing.
That was the same guy, actually. So I think this all has to do a lot with 2020. It's not just the governor's race.
I think this is going to dog him if he does run in 2020. This is one of those things that's hard to get over.
I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm used to making fun of Chris Cuomo. Now I got to do his brother. They need to coordinate their stupidity.
The family had a bad week.
The family had a bad week. But you know what? It wasn't just the 47%. This is the thing. I agree with Juan. I believe that every single person should have the opportunity to clarify what they said. But they don't give us that chance. If you screw up on Fox News, you rarely get the opportunity to clarify whether it's, or if you're a politician like 47%, or remember the folders of women, binders full of women. We knew what he was talking about, but he never got the opportunity to clarify. So Juan eloquently helped Cuomo clarify what he was trying to say, even though we know that, would we ever be afforded that opportunity? I don't think so. I want everybody to get a chance to clarify something stupid they said immediately or a few days after, but I don't think they'll ever let us have that. So why should I let him have it? That's often my challenge, to be more Christ-like.
That's who I think of when I think of our Savior.
Yes.
Jedediah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think, unfortunately, his original sentiment is a sentiment that you hear a lot in New York City and places here. I mean, I've heard many people I know in New York say, oh, America's not that great, you know, go live in Europe, it's better over there, or we have a long way to go. And he's used to having to appeal to New Yorkers. He forgets that if you're thinking about a bigger race, you're going to have to appeal to the rest of the country. So the way Juan said it is a way that somebody could go run for president. The way he said it is the way he thinks he's going to appeal to a very, very left-wing base in New York. So I think that was a big mistake that he made, which he tried to correct. So I don't know.
I think the Republican Party in New York bought him a bus ticket to go to Canada.
They did.
That was their response about that. It's very sensitive when you talk about America and having it be great or not great. I don't think that looks great on a bumper sticker to say
not so great.
America not so great.
It's interesting. There is a Republican candidate running for governor. We tend to think, if you live in New York, that it's just between Cuomo and Cynthia Nixon who are running for the Democratic candidacy. But Mark Molinaro is the Republican candidate. So there is an alternative out there. That is a person. You want to talk about media bias? That guy doesn't get any attention.
That's so true. And he should take advantage of this and take advantage of the other Nixon.
Some of the people, it's interesting to me also, that are defending Cuomo are the same people that hated on Trump's campaign slogan, Make America Great Again. They said, oh, Trump, we hate Trump for saying that because America was already great. And now somehow they've twisted and contorted to defend Cuomo's remarks.
And didn't you point out yesterday that his father, Mario, had a similar slogan, Make America Great Again, when he was running back in the day?
But and much more eloquently.
Much more eloquently.
Than his son.
All right, well, the Cuomo brothers need to take advice from the five. Just be a little more eloquent, all right?
Let's get after it.
President Trump has a big league plan to stop the Democrats in the midterms. Find out ahead.
Let's get after it.
President Trump has a plan to de-energize the Democrats before November's midterm elections. Hit the campaign trail and hit it hard. He told the Wall Street Journal, quote, I think the Democrats give up when I turn out. If you want to know the truth, I don't think it energizes them. I think it de-energizes them. I think they give up when I turn out. The president saying in the same interview that he's planning up to, and this is a quote, 50 stops to ensure that the Republicans keep the House. Dana, I just wanted to ask you about, I can think of 3 examples where he hit the trail hard. Alabama Senate would be number 1, right? Pennsylvania 18 would be another. I think out in California there were
maybe 1. But look, he's got a pretty good track record. It's like
right,
8 out of 10 of the special races. Right. Well, that's okay. And I think that, look, he's willing to go out there and help. He said he's going to do 50 stops. He said he'll work 6 to 7 days a week. You know, if you're a Republican running for office and you want President Trump to help turn out your base, like, you're begging for him to come there. There will be some districts that it won't make sense for him to go to, and I don't think he'll take offense at that. I think he'll say, fine, like, send me where I could be the most helpful. I also believe, he could be right that Democrats, or that his turnout capabilities would swamp the Democrats. However, I do think that Republicans really should make a concerted effort, if they are thinking clearly, on get out the vote efforts. Like the television ads, not as important. Democrats are out there registering a ton of new voters. New voters are very enthusiastic. They're out there. They're going to show up no matter what. And if the Democrats have more than Republicans, they're going to win.
In fact, that's a great point. I think this week we saw that in Vermont and Wisconsin.
And Minnesota.
And high turnout among the Democrats, Jess.
Yeah, it's a base election, and I think he's trash-talking here, but he's also making it about himself. This is going to be a referendum on Donald Trump. He wants it that way. He's begging for it. He's egging the Democrats on. I'm not necessarily sure if I believe that when he goes in, he's going to fire up the right, but I'm not so sure he's not going to fire up the left. I think he's going to fire up the left. So I agree with Dana. They have to turn out the vote and turn it out hard and spend a lot of money. He's going to spend 50 stops. Do you know how many stops that is? He's going to be on TV all the time. In some districts, that's really going to work because it's going to raise money for people. It's going to energize people. But at the same time, he's going to give the other side a lot of fodder. Right now, I think the congressional generic ballot on the Real Clear Politics average is only about 4.8%. That does not indicate a blue wave at all. So we're still in the territory of the Democrats picking up maybe 15 seats. That's not enough to win back the House. But anything could happen. You could have the Mueller stuff come out. You could have a trade deal fall through or come through. There's a lot of time between now and November.
What do you think the message is from President Trump on the campaign trail, Jedediah?
The economy. I think if he's smart, he'll focus on the economy and, you know, the jobs numbers and the things that have been good, you know, the lessening of regulation that cripples businesses. And I think that's a challenge for Democrats, the economy, because how do you run against something that's working? You have to find some creative way to say, oh, let's go in this direction, even though the direction that we're in right now is helping a lot of people. So that's a challenge.
Let me interrupt and say that the polls say that the economy is not a big issue for voters, not a principal concern. But I suspect, and so here comes your biased moderator, that President Trump is going to say, oh, immigrants, they're all members of MS-13, and we got to build that wall and lock her up and all the rest.
Well, I think he's going to talk about border security for sure. That's something that the base wants to hear. And I think the weakness here, look, Democrats need a positive message. I think the strength of Trump is that he's going to go in and he's going to talk about things that he said that he was going to do and that he has actually done. And Democrats are going to have to respond with something. I do think they're going to be excited seeing Trump out there because the Democrats like to run against something.
Yeah, they're not going to respond with anything positive. They're just going to say,
he's an immigrant
Trump,
hater,
we have to stop Trump. That's
right,
it.
Exactly. But I do think they'll be revved up. So I think that will be a challenge, and I don't think Republicans should be complacent.
You know, I'm not allowed to give advice on this network to President Trump, but my guru is you, Greg.
I think for people who hate Trump, the positive message is they're not Trump. So that'll be their positive. And I don't think they get de-energized. I think they get energized when they see him. They get reanimated. And I think that it's like a hurricane. It's like Hurricane Harvey or Hurricane Katrina. All hands on deck, everybody pitch in. Because I think he reminds them of everything that happened. So I disagree with him. I think he has an energizing effect on the left. It doesn't encourage complacency.
So what would you advise him to do?
I would actually use the same advice that this young woman here to my right said, which is get out the vote. Get out the vote. Do not get complacent. Don't think this is going to be. I'm not as optimistic as Jesse is. I think there'll be more seats to be lost because.
It's going to be razor thin.
Yeah, because a lot of people aren't running. A lot of people aren't running again.
There are a lot of toss-up seats, right? There are probably like 35 right now. So that's a lot of toss-ups. So if the generic ballot is whatever, Republicans will do pretty well. One of the things President Trump will have to do is you kind of have to scare your base into turning out.
Yes.
So it's not just talking about immigration, but it's that if Nancy Pelosi is back in the speaker's chair, you can bet they're going to try to pass through. They're going to take away your tax cuts. The jobs numbers are going to go down. Like scaring your base that way, it works on the left as well.
He's going to go negative hard really late.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because I think we got socialists, somebody's...
I'll just wait till October 1.
Wait, do we have another segment on Trump?
No more. Okay.
It's only 3.
Hey, your kids are going to love this next story, so stay tuned because I have a question for you. Is it good for them when one school district says, let's cut back on the time spent in the classroom? On the 5 next.
Be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Ain't got no place.
Come away with
Station 1, a 4-day, 3-night beach vacation.
Where was this? When we were growing up, a school district in Colorado, where I went to school, is cutting its week to 4 days, officially slashing Mondays off the calendar in a move designed to cut costs and attract teachers. Some parents are concerned by the move, and the district is offering child care available for children 12 and younger for $30 a day. Several school districts in Oklahoma, Montana, and Oregon have also reportedly made the change. Students in elementary school would start their day at 7:50 a.m. and leave at 3:30. Middle and high school students arrive at 8:30 or 4:30 p.m. What do you think of this idea?
Well, one, I think young people really need to sleep more. So getting up that early, I think, is kind of crazy. I wish people were more sensitive to this because I think kids would learn more if they had the chance to get a good night's sleep. But second thing to say is, when I was looking at this, Dana, I noticed that it's a lot out west. Colorado, Montana, Oklahoma, Oregon. So I think this is different than big cities like the one we're in New York or even Chicago, L.A., because there you have a larger population of poor kids. And when they're out of school, that means they're not getting fed. And attention span and levels of dysfunction in terms of everything from the neighborhood violence to family stuff, I think it affects kids. I think school is an important moderating influence on so many young people's lives. I'm a big fan of school.
Most of this is due to finances, Greg. They're trying to figure out a way to save some money for the district. And they also have a teacher shortage because there's been so much population growth.
Well, I think this is great. It's an extra day to play video games and get high.
Oh, my God.
I'm talking about the teachers. I'm talking about the teachers. Because remember, the teachers, people forget how young teachers are.
Yeah.
Teachers play video games now. They're like in their 20s. I mean, but anyway, they should use, I think this is all about choices. It depends what you do with the day off. If, steal a car and go to Las Vegas, that's a bad choice. However, maybe if you were required to pursue something that prepares you for life, like that extra day you take courses in robotics or sports or acting and music courses, things that give you more culture, robotics,
all of
discipline.
Those things are great. Jesse, your parents are educators, and I wonder what you would think. You grew up in a house talking about these things. But it's also a little bit about the financial thing, because all of those great camps and things that you're talking about cost money.
That too, and if you have parents that are working and your child is off on Friday, who's going to take care of that child? They're going to run wild.
A whole new industry of taking care of kids.
Okay, you're not in charge of that.
It's called the 20% Club.
Okay, so also we're competing globally against the Chinese, against the European Union, against everybody, and these students are doing great. They're reading, they're writing, they're applying to colleges, their test scores are out of this world, and a lot of students in this country are struggling with basic mathematics and reading comprehension. So I want our students to be as competitive as possible globally because everyone's fighting for talent. And an extra day in school is great, but I do agree with Juan. Kids are getting up way too early in the morning.
Yeah. What do you think, Jedediah?
I've taught middle school and high school, and I can tell you 8:30 to 4:30 is too long of a day for these kids. They're and the school day doesn't end at 4:30. People
you got to go home and do
homework. They have activities. Even if you have one activity after school, they have private tutors that they do after school. So, and what's going to happen to teachers is that the end of that day, that last period of the day, teachers are going to have kids that aren't paying attention. They're going to stick a movie on. It's going to be like a holiday because they're not going to know what else to do. So they think they're getting a good deal by having that Friday off or one day a week off, and in fact, it's going to become torture every day. And I think it's going to be, it is a recruitment device for teachers because they see that and they say, okay, you know what, 4 days a week, but it's ultimately going to make their job harder.
I also wonder if it will push some businesses to allow parents to do a 4-day work week so that you could be home on the Monday or work from home or have some flexibility. The market might figure this out.
Are we turning into France? I mean, 4-day work week? Come on, Dana. This is America.
Look, I'm
we didn't take vacations in this country. We're too afraid of getting fired.
You know, it's interesting, though. I think that they're going to say to the kids, on that day, you are expected to take computerized lessons. And then I don't know what that does to the teachers, Jedediah, because it might put some teachers eventually out of business.
But that's where we're going. I think we're heading towards 4 days, possibly 3 days, when everything's automated and AI runs everything. We're going to be doing very little of anything, except just sitting and having the robots take care of us.
This is why I fight your robot revolution.
Yeah.
Every last breath
robots love me.
All right, a flight turns back midway through its 7-hour journey, and the reason why? We'll flesh out those details next.
We all know the pain of a really long flight, but can you imagine it being turned around about 3 hours in all because of a stupid, broken toilet, Greg? New York passengers' hopes of getting to France went down the drain this week after their 7-hour flight got turned around halfway through, all because someone apparently flushed the wrong thing down the can. Bravo's Andy Cohen was among the angry passengers.
Somewhere amongst these people is the who shoved a large blunt object down the toilet of our flight yesterday that forced us to come back to JFK.
Wow. The reason for flying all the way back to the States was reportedly because it would be easier to fix the toilet here. All right, Greg, I know I'm going to regret this question in a very short period of time, but what could somebody have put down a toilet on an airplane to cause this fiasco?
No, let me check my list.
What did you do?
They are the number 2 airline. Here's the deal. This is the problem. The impact of such decisions are different for passengers than it is for the company or the plane. You know, when you got your vacation planned, you packed, you're at the airport for hours, you're stressed out, you're looking forward to where you're going, and then they turn the plane around, and that impact is brutal to you, but you're not dead, but it feels different for the airline. When they make that decision, they're still on the job. It's just they're not going to lose any money. They go back to work. The flight attendants, everybody's working. It's like when we are doing the 5 and we get preempted by a hearing, we just sit. It doesn't bother us. But the viewers at home are like, damn it, I wanted to watch the 5. I thought I was going to get the 5 today, and I'm watching a stupid hearing. But we're sitting here going, well, we're still getting paid. That's exactly what happens with the airlines, is that they don't see how much this matters. They probably could have just taken a poll and said, we'll take a vote. You guys have one less toilet?
Right.
Are you okay with it?
Right, yeah.
Everybody would have been like this, except the guy who just had, tacos.
Right. Now, I'm not the best flyer. In fact, I just got back from Italy last night, 8 hours. By the 4th hour, I'm pacing. I'm going crazy. What would you do? I would go insane if this happened to me. Would you go crazy, or would you just accept it, take a nap?
It's infuriating. But, I mean, this is typical. You know, the airlines do things like let you sit on the tarmac and say, oh, we can't go back to the terminal because, it's quicker for us when we get the okay to fly if we don't have to reload the passenger. You think, yeah, but that's 3 hours from now, and you're 3 hours into it, people are jamming up the toilets, and everybody's upset.
Yes.
And they're still sitting there saying, well, but and you think, you're not living like a passenger. You're thinking like a corporation.
Right.
See, what I would do, I'd get the air marshal involved. That's why you have air marshals.
No, that's not why.
No, this is exactly why
9/11 was for the air marshals.
No. This is also in their job description. You take note of who went back from the chair to the bathroom. You isolate those people, all right? Once they're isolated, you start turning the screws. You interrogate them. You narrow it down until you find out who's responsible. Then, if you have to turn around, you take severe vengeance on this individual, so at least you feel better that there's repercussions and the guilty man has been punished.
I would be the person recording this whole thing with my phone and posting it on Facebook immediately. This would be, so you would get a new television show out of that if you did that.
It'd be called Taken with Jesse Waters.
Now, Dana, you sent me a message today about, because Delta actually booking the flight, and you sent me a message about
so Peter is very adamant that everyone know their rights when it comes to the airline.
Bill of Rights.
Passenger Bill of Rights is that anytime this happens to you, unless it's weather or terrorism, the airline is legally obliged to get you on the next available flight, even if that's another airline.
Yeah, that's important.
And you're also supposed to pay for your hotel and inconvenience, and probably, I think, also for the ticket, is what he said. And he really wants everyone to know that those are your rights.
Oh, well, thank you.
Peter's like the six-man award here on the show. Love that guy.
Wow. All right, guys, one more thing is coming up next.
Time for one more thing, Juan.
Take a listen to this, America. Yep, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. That's what America's given Aretha Franklin. She died today, age 76. Aretha has literally been a part of America's soundtrack since the 1960s. She got her start singing gospel, which led to her being the first woman inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here she is singing one of my favorites, Aretha songs. It's written by Carole King. After she sang My Country 'Tis of Thee at President Obama's inaugural. By the way, what most people remember from that day was her hat. Her voice was one for the ages. Rest in peace, Aretha. Your voice will never die.
Great. Jesse?
All right, you know when you're going to the vending machines, you're just trying to get something to eat, and you want to get something healthy, you know, and there's nothing in there that's healthy. Maybe peanuts, maybe a granola bar. Chicago has the solution. Chicago is doing salad vending machines, okay? For about $8, you can throw in for a salad, fresh salad, at vending machines. They're called Farmer's Fridge. They're blowing up all over Chicago. People love them. 1 million salads have been sold through salad vending machines in the very healthy city of Chicago.
I bought one in O'Hare Airport.
Are they any good?
Yeah.
Really? You would buy one.
I would.
Was it fresh?
They're made for people like you, not for Greg and I.
I had a connecting flight going through Chicago, and I thought, oh, I don't want to eat anything bad. I've been eating junk all day, and there it was, right by my gate.
Wow.
Beautiful.
That's a great story. You know, you should collect a story of these, of things you buy at
Things
airports. Yeah, things you eat.
Okay, yeah, that's called I'll Tell You What podcast.
Leave that for the last chapter, so it builds up.
Okay, great. Thanks for the tip. I know that you're a best-selling author. And all. All right, guess what it's time for? Dana's corny jokes. Okay, these are all music related.
Ooh, great.
Okay. Question number 1. Why did Adele cross the road? Why did Adele cross the road? To say hello from the other side.
Oh, look at that.
I knew it.
Boy.
Okay.
You knew it.
Where did the music teacher leave her keys?
In the piano.
Yes, in the piano. Very good, Jesse. Okay. What is the most musical part of a turkey? The most musical part of a turkey.
The wishbone.
Close.
The trombone.
No, the drumstick.
You know there is a part called the trombone.
Okay, I'm expecting somebody to get this. What did Jay-Z call his wife before they got married? Oh. What did Jay-Z call his wife before they got married?
Fiance, Beyonce?
Fiance. Very good, Jesse.
You rolling today.
Nicely done.
Way to go, Jesse.
Smarter than I look.
That's a low bar.
Come on, you love the hair.
I love the hair. I love the hair. You know, let's do this. Greg's travel tips. You know, I was flying a lot for my book tour for my number 1 with a zero after it. Bestseller, number 10 now. Anyway, it's very hard to sleep in a plane when you have a seat that doesn't recline or it's just not a first class or business class seat. So I filmed myself and showed you the proper way to fall asleep on a plane. Let's take a look at this. Here I am. This is how you usually arch your side. You can see just sitting there like that. This is how everybody falls asleep on a plane.
Standing, oh yeah, hunched.
There you go.
Yeah, just like, do you have one of those little pillows that you lay over?
No. Have you ever had someone like that fall asleep on your shoulder?
Yes.
And what do you do?
Look at him. Isn't he great?
Yeah, that's really great video, Greg. Wow.
No, it's fantastic. It's fantastic video. It's a hedgehog falling asleep. Look, I dare you to find this on any news program.
There's a reason for that.
Well, anyway, what do you... Oh, Jedediah.
Oh, gosh, yes. I have a video that's going to melt your heart, melted mine, from the SFT Animal Sanctuary in Morocco. And if